Thanks for joining us today. I'm Deborah McGrath, Principal Product Marketing Engineer with ServiceNow and SPM Academy host. We're so excited about the topic we'll be discussing and demonstrating today, using strategic portfolio management to manage your generative AI strategy. But before we get started, I'd like to point out our safe harbor notice. While most of what we'll be discussing and showing you are features that are currently available, this presentation may contain forward-looking statements that reflect the current beliefs of ServiceNow, all based on current information available. Actual results may differ materially and should not be relied upon in making purchasing decisions. And now I'd like to introduce from Amsterdam, Sankadeep Dar, who's an advisory solution consultant with ServiceNow. And Sankadeep has many years and deep experience with strategic portfolio management. We're really thrilled to have him join us today to talk about how you can use SPM to manage and drive successful outcomes with your generative AI strategy. Welcome, Sankadeep.
Thanks for the warm welcome, Deborah. Now, some of you might know me already, but I'm sure what most of you don't know about me is that when I was really young, I wanted to become, well, your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. Well, that was obviously not possible. So instead, I became the next best thing, which was your friendly neighborhood SPM evangelist. And I've been in this domain for many years. And by the way, I am quite active on LinkedIn. I write a lot of blogs over there. Well, that was me. And Deborah, we are here to talk about a topic which everyone is really talking about these days, isn't it?
You mean Spider-Man?
Yes, of course.
And it also seems like all we hear about lately is generative AI, right? Whether that's new features from ServiceNow or capabilities from third parties that our customers would like to integrate into their technology landscape. Am I right?
Yes, indeed. And around mid of 2023, Gartner put out a bold statement. It advised every organizations to come up with their Gen AI strategy before it is too late. And I had been doing, this similar webinars and presenting this topic in other forums as well. And what I've been noticing, Deborah, is the percentage of audience who are saying that now they know what their corporate strategy on AI and generative AI is in fact gradually increasing. And based on what we are hearing from customers like the audience today and analysts, 2023 was the year of experimentation. And 2024 is when companies are putting AI to production. Everyone is looking beyond the Gen AI hype, and technology and business leaders like you have a critical role to play here. Now, with ServiceNow and our framework, we will make you the first mover, and we will ensure that you can execute your strategy, Gen AI strategy, and bring it to life. And today, we will not just share the framework with you, we will also show you a demo of our solution that exists today, which will help you to execute your AI strategy today and also manage the technology governance as well.
Sankadeep, with so much Gen AI coming at them so fast in so many different forms and from so many different parts of the business, how can customers be successful?
Great question, Deborah. So let's talk about this AI strategy. So what should be considered when creating one? Because that's essentially step one. And it actually turns out that creating that Gen AI strategy it's not really that hard, because organizations had been creating their business strategy, their technology strategy for many years, right? So, and here are a few simple things to consider. So the first one is to start with a vision, which is in line with your overall enterprise vision. And your AI vision is not on an island. It should be heavily influenced by your business, and is also influenced by the learning of the experimentations which your AI teams are already doing today. The second one is to define clear objectives. So what kind of business outcomes do you expect to deliver with AI? And these should be clearly identified and measured so that you are on the right track. is again quite important to not forget your enterprise architects, because they are critical in your Gen AI journey. For example, they will choose the right AI technology, which large language models, for example, you would want to invest on decisions such as build versus buy strategy for AI. And they will also guide the organization to avoid risks and technology debts. Include everyone in your organization in this journey. Collect ideas for use cases which were previously unknown, and also educate your whole workforce so that they can reap the benefits and use AI in a confident and responsible way. And if you really think about this particular piece, this is actually key in removing many organizational roadblocks. And finally, execution. This is also key so that the right AI use cases are identified across the whole value stream, and right work is prioritized and then built and deployed. When you look at all of these building blocks of your AI strategy, you will realize that you really need to involve the whole enterprise machinery to execute your AI strategy properly. And the lack of enterprise agility is the biggest block in achieving this outcome. So, Deborah, I believe we do have a framework. So what's our framework for enterprise agility, and how do we enable organizations to take their strategic priorities and execute them?
Well, Sankadeep, I'm glad you asked that question, because I'm guessing that most everyone in our audience is passionate about how having a solid SPM approach helps the organization be successful with all kinds of major endeavors. And not only is managing Gen AI really no different in a lot of ways, it's also incredibly important. So if you look at it, the SPM framework powered by the ServiceNow platform enables the Gen AI journey you just described, Sankadeep, the same way it enables other transformation journeys, with seamless end-to-end visibility and shared insight across different teams. And it enables this with three key factors: the ability to strategize, align to that strategy, and to quickly deliver outcomes. In fact, success all begins with your business strategy, right? Everyone in the organization needs to understand where the business is heading, what it's trying to achieve, and how it's going to fund those efforts. And you need to continuously focus on the right work to achieve the right results. You must also align all your work to goals like Gen AI in order to achieve them and to maximize your outcomes. And you need to be able to respond quickly and decisively when changes are needed. And change, of course, happens all the time, like the incredible amount of change we're seeing with Gen AI and the demands to implement it. And finally, you need to be able to deliver fast using any work methodology, waterfall, agile, or hybrid, so you can increase the amount of work delivered that's aligned to that strategy. This means having a single place to capture and evaluate your Gen AI goals, associating strategic goals to all types of work and demands coming in for that, and then, importantly, real-time tracking of progress against your generative AI goals.
Thank you, Deborah. So for our audience today, we want you to take this to your leadership and to your AI Center of Excellence, or whichever team is doing AI. So internalize this framework, dream about this framework, and evangelize this framework so that you are setting them up for success. And remember, Gen AI is not about doing some interesting content creation or doing some very technology-driven projects in silos, because it has the potential to transform your business. And you cannot afford to do this in silos. You will need to involve your whole organization machinery, like your enterprise architects, your leadership, your product teams, delivery teams. And you need to ensure that all of them are working in sync to use Gen AI to meet your business outcomes. Now, as Deborah said, so what we really enable with this framework is the value and outcome delivery to your customers. And this can be pilots to begin with. That's not a problem. And this is actually a value stream if you focus on the top right corner of the screen. And this is a framework where we start with your strategy, plan, build, and then deploying it into operations. And like every great thing, it starts with, well, a strategy, and the kind of which we just talked about. Your chief of AI, along with other leadership from business, IT, and enterprise architects, would formulate this. And for example, what kind of outcomes would you want to enable with your Gen AI strategy? And this whole strategic planning exercise will start driving a lot of use cases, which you would want to score, for example. And what we are also hearing from a lot of PMO leads and portfolio leads, this is where they can actually help the AI Center of Excellence teams to collect these use cases and score them properly. And scoring helps them to prioritize the use cases, keeping in mind what kind of resources and skill sets are needed, what kind of budget has been set aside, and ultimately enabling the AI teams and the delivery organization to come up with the delivery roadmap. And then execute the use cases, starting with a pilot and collecting the feedback from your customer base and looping that feedback back into the planning process. And your delivery teams can, like Deborah said, can choose how they want to deliver: agile, scaled, agile, hybrid, waterfall, doesn't really matter. And when you're ready to scale this model, the most important bit is to focus on and start thinking about value realization so that you can feed this back into the strategic planning exercise so that you can pivot directly. And again, don't forget to share this with and across your organization. I'm pretty sure many of them would really, really appreciate this. Now, let's move on and see, how do we really enable this framework with ServiceNow strategic portfolio management? It all starts at the corporate level. And what you're seeing on the screen is where organization and the executives are tracking some of the key outcomes on how well are they running their business and where those gaps really are. So essentially, these are the objectives and the key results. Now, in this case, the TCB Global, the executives notice that two of the objectives are in red. One of them is related to how they bring their innovation to their customers. And the second one is how their employee potential is currently leveraged. And they're not doing a good job in this case, as you can see. And during that board meeting, the chief of AI suggests that we can effectively leverage AI to bring these objectives back on track. So what do? They go ahead and create a new objective, something like accelerate AI investments across business to meet this business outcome. And with this new objective and some related details, it starts a chain of events. So let's look through that now. The first event is creating a new initiative. Maybe it's a strategic program. In this case, it is the AI transformation journey. And aligning this with the strategic priority, optimize business through AI. And also calculating some high-level financial numbers, such as what would it take to execute this transformation program, planned cost, what kind of benefits would it bring in, which is essentially the planned benefits. And these benefits can be in terms of growth, productivity, gains, entering a new market, for example. And in this specific example, well, you can see, it's all related to Gen AI. So the planned benefits is, much more than what the planned cost really is. And the next step is to start breaking down the top level objectives into more granular objectives and key results. Now, this is a key exercise which will enable you and your teams to measure your outcomes properly. And now you can share this with the rest of the organization. And when your people are aware of what you are trying to achieve, these OKRs will now start driving a lot of use cases. Use cases which will typically come from your users, right? So now that the news and the details of the AI program, everyone in the organization is super excited. It drives a lot of innovative ideas, which your employees now want to bring forward. They want to experiment with AI and submit AI use cases, which they believe will help the program to achieve the outcomes. And this is where, like I was saying, the AI COEs actually reach out to the PMOs to really find out, like how they can collect all of these ideas and use cases from their employees and their teams. And the easiest way to enable your teams is to give them a very easy way to submit these use cases like you are seeing over here. And we recommend using the Employee Center portal to do so, essentially the ServiceNow portal. So make the process of submitting these use cases fun and informative. And if you share relevant information and guide the users to create the perfect use case, they will put in the relevant details. And the form that you're seeing on the screen is, completely customizable to your specific need, depending on what kind of information you would want to collect from your user base. Now, let's take a step back. Now, not every Gen AI related idea would necessarily become a valid use case. So this is where experimentation and collaborative work during the early stages becomes super important. Your teams can use our collaborative work management capability to do some pre-work. And that's exactly what you're seeing on the screen. And this is a brand new SPM capability, which we'll introduce in the next upcoming release. So stay tuned. This is super exciting. And you can use collaborative work management to plan and execute work such as hackathons and training sessions on Gen AI to make your workforce aware of the technology potential. Also, important is to manage those experimentation to develop out of the possible and document those learning as well. And here is a team which is doing experimentation on AI-driven sentiment analysis, for example, for their set of products. And all of these work is done in collaboration with your business teams and not in IT silos. Now, let's go back to the use cases. Now that the use cases are continuously coming in, we can help you to quickly score these use cases, which is the step before the prioritization. And the important point here is not every use case are equal, and hence the importance of scoring. And one of the frameworks, such as value versus feasibility, is also recommended for AI use cases by analysts. And this calculates a score based on a number of parameters, such as, does this use case require access to sensitive data? Is this architecture-wise feasible if the organization has the right skills and so on and so forth, which helps you to ultimately give you the business value versus the feasibility score. Now, let's look how we can prioritize these use cases. The outcome of the scoring process will help you to prioritize the use cases, right? So, and you can do manual prioritization, of course, but I think using the score sets the first draft of that prioritization. And when you're done with the prioritization, you would also want to roadmap these use cases. And in the roadmap, we put these use cases in timeline. We also visualize how are they aligned to your business objectives. We identify dependencies amongst these use cases, and then can quickly resolve the dependency issues, like I just did now. And the beauty of these roadmaps is that we bubble up all kinds of work, your projects, your agile work, your experimentation boards as well. into one AI roadmap, thereby helping you and your leadership and your teams to move away from siloed ways of working. And when you are piloting these use cases, you may also want to check, how much of that work is actually complete. And for us, it's essentially the click of a toggle of a button. So what we have seen so far is we created a strategic initiative. We broke the top level objective into more granular ones so that it helps you to pivot and measure. And to inspire innovation in the organization, we enabled your teams to experiment and submit AI use cases. Then we scored those use cases, we prioritized them, we put them on the roadmap, and we began the execution. Now, coming back to the outcomes, and that is where it all circles back into that strategic layer once again. You will now see how the work is impacting your planned outcomes. And this is a great way to show your leadership how AI and generative AI is now helping them to achieve the business outcomes. And so far, what you have seen is how ServiceNow strategic portfolio management helps organizations to bring their Gen AI strategy to life, removing siloed experiments and connecting technology to business outcomes. Now, here is the thing. We don't stop here. We actually take it a step further, and we can help you to manage the technology itself. So let's have a look on how we do this. And this is where our application portfolio management comes in, which helps architects, technology leaders, and application owners to manage the application portfolio and the technology behind it. And here is an example of an application, attendance and payroll management system, which has been tagged as, it's utilizing AI. And not just this, with our digital integration capability and the CMDB map, we can now also show which AI solution is it using. As you can see here, this attendance and payroll management system is using Azure OpenAI. And this is not just a pretty map. Architects are able to store more detailed information about the integration, as you can see on the screen. And more important, what kind of information is this application passing over to the AI solution? And as you can see here, through the information objects data classification, this particular application is passing some sensitive information, which now becomes a trigger to the risk team to put in additional controls over this application. And all of this is done automatically, creating those risk controls. And we support this by actually integrating out of the box to our risk solution, helping you to govern AI solution on our platform. And also think about utilizing our APM capability to properly guide your teams every time they need to onboard a new language model, a new AI tool, or when they want to integrate their applications and their products with an AI solution. So a solution like this, the application portfolio management on ServiceNow, is in fact the first step towards governing AI in your organization and doing this on scale. So with ServiceNow SPM and APM, we go beyond Gen AI on the ServiceNow workflows. We are able to help customers like you to deploy AI across your organization and do it the right way. So, strategize, you align, and then you execute. And more important, we help you to manage the technology and link the technology and work to your business outcomes. Over to you, Deborah.
Thank you, Sankadeep. That's so insightful, how to capture, prioritize, and manage all those different GenAI use cases. Before I even mention this, we've got about 5 minutes left, and I know we've got quite a bit more to talk about. John Lim will be putting some links in the chat window where you can watch this again. Sankadeep, I know you typically spend at least about an hour talking about this, and we're condensing it. One of the things I wanted to ask about is what's coming up specifically in SPM with GenAI. I know there's a QR code here for a podcast as well, but just a mention.
Yes. And in fact, we have some very exciting stuff planned with GenAI on strategic portfolio management itself. And in fact, in a few weeks' time, drum roll, you will hear about Now Assist for SPM. And the first iteration for that includes product feedback summarization and conversational demand creation. And we have a lot of exciting stuff in the roadmap for SPM with GenAI. And in fact, John and me, we had a couple of podcasts planned for that. So scan the QR code, listen to those when it has been published. And in fact, the first one was published last week, if I'm not wrong. So go ahead and listen to those. You will see tons of information over there.
Thank you, Sankadeep. I can't wait to listen.
Thanks, Deborah. So now let me summarize, like what we have seen so far. So the first takeaway is, GenAI is a game changer, and organizations are already experimenting and reaping the benefits. And in fact, this year is the year where many organizations will put AI in production. The second one is to approach generative AI as a strategic initiative. So technology is important, of course, right? But so is alignment to strategy, collaboration across teams, and empowerment to maximizing value. And the last bit is to think about strategic planning, and that is essential for unlocking new levels of efficiency or innovation and customer centricity, which is promised by generative AI. And we firmly believe, and I'm pretty sure many of you in the audience also do so, is that SPM turbocharges generative AI execution at every stage, at every department, and every business unit in your organization.
Thank you, Sankadeep, for sharing that great demo showing us how organizations can and should leverage SPM to enable their businesses with the GenAI strategy. Now we'd like to take a look at some upcoming events and resources. Our next SPM Academy webinar will be on Thursday, June 27th on our enhanced enterprise agile planning capabilities. Scan that QR code to register. Scan this QR code to register for our SPM Financial Management Workshop, which will be on Tuesday, May 28th. The workshop is focused on financial management with SPM, including planning, funding, and tracking. Please join us on Thursday, June 20th to learn more about our new resource management capabilities in SPM by scanning this QR code to register for that. This topic in particular is always a crowd pleaser, so I imagine a lot of people will join. A reminder that you can find and register for any of these live on ServiceNow events at community.servicenow.com under events. Finally, scan this QR code to access a central location for all ServiceNow generative AI resources. Thank you so much, Sankadeep. Many thanks to my co-producer, John Lim. And as always, a huge thank you to our SPM Academy last Thursday's audience for joining us. We'll see you at the next SPM Academy webinar.